We've met the hero. Now let's take a look at the villain. What if you used Spec Evo to make Frieza more alien? Hello everyone, and welcome to the Speculative Wildlife Research Center. Frieza is one of those classic Dragon Ball Z villains, sporting not an iconic design, but like 4 or 5 of them. And I believe we can do some very fun specking with all of his interesting properties and abilities. So please consider having an anime fight with the like and subscribe buttons, or watching one of our other xenobiology videos. And now, without further ado, let's get started. So first of all, let me try to justify what I made with Frieza's body plan. We've mentioned before why fully humanoid body plans are unlikely in alien beings, and the presence of a tail in this one allowed me to play with its shape, until I landed on something resembling a face hugger. So the body of the... well, while Frieza's species has no name, many fans have taken to calling them Frost Demons, so I'll call them Frosties for simplicity's sake. So, the body of the Frosties ends up resembling an alien form that can accommodate itself into a humanoid shape if needed. And atop this body is what we'll refer to as the core, where all the organs of this species are located. Separate from this core, I propose there is a second layer to the body, one composed of malleable tissue that forms its locomotor and manipulating organs. But you may be asking, why would this be good for the organism? Well, because it keeps the tissue in charge of interacting with the environment as a separate thing, which really lowers the cost involved in this tissue being damaged. Of course, this allows them to survive after grievous injuries, up to and including being cut in half. While regeneration of this tissue afterwards would be possible, it would be a slow and taxing process, which would likely require aid from their own technological advancements. Their most external layer, that in direct contact with their surroundings, would be even more reactive, quickly adapting in response to stimuli in order to form soft sensing skin, hard armor, spikes and scutes, or specialized tissue to protect them against environmental conditions. This would also allow sufficiently trained members of the species to use said ability to form clothes and ornaments around their bodies, even if it was only for modesty or as a fashion statement, which, since it's canon that they grow their own clothes, it tracks. Once these species became more technologically advanced, they would become able to merge their own biological capabilities with their newly developed technology, also a nod to their biomechanical appearance, creating protective suits and resource recycling apparatuses that would allow them to be shielded from adverse environmental conditions, including cold or heat, radiation, or a lack of a breathable atmosphere. These suits would be perfect for space travel, thus enabling the Frosties to become explorers and, in due time, space conquerors. Now, on to the more superpowered side of things. By virtue of the common media they inhabit, Saiyans and Frosties have a lot of things in common in terms of the abilities they have, including the use of ki and the ability to transform into more powerful forms. Hence, we'll give these ones a bioenergetic apparatus similar to that of Saiyans, located at their core. However, the greater amounts of energy that would be required to constantly maintain their extra tissue, as well as allowing it to change from time to time due to its malleable nature, would mean a lot less energy would be reserved for combat, causing them to tire quickly when fighting. Instead, it's more likely this energy would be better used on something Frieza is rather well known for: his blinding speed, produced here by a series of heavily adapted resonators that release large amounts of energy to gain thrust. The bioenergetic apparatus also has a type of cell called the energy-carrying cell, similar to the C cells seen in Saiyans, but these are moved through the body in order to reach the malleable reactive tissues. This transport is achieved through a dense, dark liquid, its coloration derived from its copper component, like that of octopuses, which does not interfere with the electromagnetic fields present in the energy-carrying cells. Now, since the Frosties are not as adapted to combat as Saiyans are, they need something that gives them the edge when push comes to shove. Of course, the ability to form armor around them helps, but I'm also giving them a special mechanism to aid in this purpose. These aliens will retain a certain amount of energy stored inside their tissues, reserved to be used during emergencies. These energy deposits will activate at once, releasing the energy necessary to cause a system-wide, simultaneous alteration of their reactive and external tissues, seemingly transforming the appearance of their entire body in drastic and unexpected ways. Notably, the sudden transformation of the body's tissues will cause a quick regenerative process, curing injuries sustained beforehand. As for the usefulness of the transformations themselves, I for one interpret Frieza's first form as a functional armor, with a good amount of protective and isolating tissues that would allow his species to explore a new environment. The second, much larger form, would be the first taken upon engaging in combat, and so is likely intended to be focused on intimidation. Next is a more animalistic, predatory form, equipped with more spikes to increase damage dealt, as well as a longer head shield that helps protect its core. Finally, when all other options were exhausted, Frieza would take on a much smaller and streamlined form, focused on sheer speed while still allowing outbursts of strength along the way. However, since these observations were made, more forms have been cited, mostly distinguished by using greater amounts of energy to drastically alter the chemical composition of their external layer, also getting a shiny new color in the process. And now, last but not least, did you know Frieza's species has no ladies? Yep, all members of the species are said to be male. That is, save for one exception, Frieza's mom, who, as of my research, was never shown or depicted in any way. So my take on that is this. Even if they identified as males, probably due to cultural reasons, it is likely the species is genderless and hermaphroditic, in the sense that any member of the species can carry and birth young, with the word mother being the closest possible translation to their term for a bearer of children. And that's it for Speculative Biology look into Frieza and his species. Having worked on the Saiyan episode before, this one was substantially easier to work on, since things like the key bioenergetic system had already been worked out. And luckily, the amount of transformations in these characters is much less exaggerated than that seen in Saiyans. Let's be honest, the entire history of evolution is less complicated than Saiyan transformations, which, added to their physical capabilities, made the whole thing much easier to work out. When it comes to the design, I always try to move things around to make them less obviously humanoid, and the scrawny, chaotic look of this little guy I felt worked great to represent his personality. Of course, I'm super thankful to all of you who not only enjoyed the Saiyan episode but who also asked to see other characters, like Frieza, done in our style. And also, thank you to our researchers and research associates who support us through Patreon and YouTube memberships. Remember, you too can join in if you want to support our channel, and you get some nice perks too, like seeing all of our creatures and videos ahead of time and helping mold them into shape. Or you can also like, subscribe, or write a comment telling me any type of creature you would like me to give the Spec Evo treatment in the show. Any of those really help the channel a lot. But before we go, remember Goku can't protect you while you surf the web. So if you need help against hackers and internet security threats, you can rely instead on today's sponsor, NordVPN. Whenever you're online, you risk your information falling into the hands of hackers, but NordVPN helps protect you by changing your IP address, securing online traffic through encryption, blocking malware and trackers, warning you if your data has been compromised, and a ton more benefits, keeping the evil hackers at bay. So click the link on the description and get NordVPN to regain your internet security. And you also support the channel in the process. So anyways, thank you all if you are still here. And if you are, please put an emoji of an ice cube in the comments so I know you are a real one. Thank you all for watching, and see you next time on the Speculative Wildlife Research Center.